Good morning. It's Monday, April 13th, and I'm here with you the answers to last Friday, April the 10th's bell ringer. If you don't have that question up in front of you now, it'd be a good idea for you to open that question. It's in last week's review materials file. So if you need to pause this video and pull that up on, say, a laptop or computer, or just even look at it on your phone and then come back to us, that's fine as well. I'm going to move forward as if you can see it in front of you. So the question asks you, what is the significance of borders and boundaries in our modern world from a perspective of varying scales? So here we have a scales type question, and you're going to have another one of these scale type questions for tomorrow as well. When we talk about scales, we're talking about local, regional, national, and global. So, and then you're asked to give different examples of what would act as a border or boundary for each of those scales. So, for example, local. We could be talking about even a personal local level. We could be talking about things like signs that say, welcome to Montgomery, now leaving Indian Hill, signs that tell you you're entering Wyoming and leaving Hartwell. Or we could be talking about things like fences that separate your property from a neighbor's property, or a fence that separates a particular public work from the rest of the city. I know that right now some of the parks in Loveland have snow fence up to try to keep people out of those parks during our quarantine period, and they've used the boundaries of those publicly owned parks as a way to begin the area that is closed. All right, at the regional level, region can be defined in all sorts of different ways. We could be talking about counties, we could be talking about parts of a county, we could be talking about entire states. So boundaries for regions could be things like a line drawn on a map. But they could also be invisible boundaries, such as when you drive across from one state to the next. Some states are huge, and they have lots of roads that go back and forth between them. You might see a sign that says, welcome to Ohio, welcome to Indiana, welcome to Kentucky, welcome to Michigan as you cross over at an interstate. But you're not going to see those signs if it's a small county road or public access road. So that would be an invisible form of boundary. It's not present at all. You could also see things like roads themselves that act as the boundary. Butler-Warren County Road is a road that defines the boundary between those two counties. You can find that on a map of the greater Cincinnati region. National level boundaries. Sometimes you see walls. Oh, by the way, for regions, sometimes you see walls, such as boundaries between Palestinian and Israeli territories in Israel. Those aren't separate nations per se, or countries, but they are regions within what is recognized as a country. Or if we talk about enclave and exclave regions, sometimes those are drawn on a map with a boundary. Now, at the national level, boundaries could be things like the U.S.-Mexico border, which, even though the wall is hotly debated, there is fence and to some extent wall that separates those two, or the U.S.-Canada virtual wall. You would not want to include things that have necessarily been historical unless you want to talk about things that are invisible, like a wall or a boundary that used to exist, but it doesn't exist anymore, like the boundary that separated North and South Vietnam. That relic boundary is gone, but it still has some, it's still visible in the form of rusted metal, crumbling concrete, and vegetation that has not yet regrown. Or we could talk about major national boundaries like the DMZ between North and South Korea, a man-made boundary between those two that's landmines, empty space that separates those two countries. And even though those are separate states, there's a dead space in between the two that even on a satellite map is dark at night. And then globally, if we talk about boundaries, we get to be talking about things like natural features, rivers, oceans, seas that separate entire continents or land areas. We could also be talking about physical boundaries, such as mountains that help to separate one place from the next. Oftentimes, the Ural Mountains are seen as the dividing line between Europe and Asia. That may be a problematic boundary, but it still functions as a boundary. The key to this activity is to try to get you to think about the different types of boundaries and borders that exist. Some that are drawn on a map, some that are created by nature, some that are created by human practice, and some that they're not present, they only legally exist, such as the designation between where one school district stops and another one starts. There are boundaries there, and some of you may be aware of which district you're in, and your parents may have moved to a particular place to get you into a particular district. It's people reacting to different boundaries. Okay, so there is your review of the bell ringer activity from yesterday. I've already posted today's bell ringer for you, and I'll be back tomorrow with yet another video on the answer for that bell ringer. And be on the lookout for the Google Meets recording tomorrow for the first half of the slideshow. And I will add a PDF of the slideshow at the same time, so you'll have it to follow along with if you don't want to try to read your screen as I'm talking. All right. Have a good Monday. Please make sure you stay on top of things. Send me any email questions if you have them. Stay safe.